You're listening to The Greg Kelly Show.
Even Fox went overboard with the Juneteenth, you know? It's called the virtue signal. It's like, look at us. We're paying attention to Juneteenth, which nobody ever heard of before Donald Trump had a rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Nobody ever heard of Juneteenth. And to the extent you did, knock yourself out. It doesn't mean we have to stop everything and have a national holiday. But we did, and Fox News, the woke, boy, talk about woke. Talk about you can't count on them, right? Rainy day. What they won't be there for you on a rainy day. Here's Fox News celebrating Juneteenth. And how do you do that? I mean, what do you do on Juneteenth? Well, for them, they grab I'm sorry to say it, but they just grabbed some talented guy who happened to be black who knew how to play the drums. Literally. Oh, this sounds nice, and we'll somehow dress it up into a Juneteenth something or other. This is an actual report from Fox News, cut 49.
The principal timpanist for the National Symphony Orchestra sharing how he's working to uplift aspiring black musicians. Kevin Cork is live in Washington with this story.
The principal timpanist for the National Symphony Orchestra, a gentleman by the name of Javon Gilliam. He's terrific. He grew up in the great state of Indiana and has always had an interest in music.
Well, that's just dandy. What does that have to do with anything? This is corporate America, right? This is so on the nose. MSNBC exemplifies this, you know. We have to do more to diversify. We need a black person to host a show. Where's Al Sharpton? Let's get Al Sharpton. He's down with the community, right? Actually, he's a racist and a corrupt liar. No, he's black. Let's put him on. Yeah, let's give him a show. Let's give him a show. Okay, more on Juneteenth from our good friends, not at MSNBC, at Fox News. Tell me all about Juneteenth and how important it is. Cut 50.
Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, June 20th, 2022. It is Juneteenth, and this was a federal holiday signed into law last year by Joe Biden.
Many people are at home today celebrating Juneteenth.
Thank you very much for joining us on this federal holiday. It's Juneteenth.
Today, our nation is marking its newest holiday, Juneteenth, a day that brought freedom to the last of all enslaved people here in the United States.
It's interesting because I've been celebrating it my entire life. I didn't realize till a couple years ago that a lot of people didn't know about it, didn't understand, the history behind it.
And they still don't, because you folks have done nothing. Fox News, mainstream media, corporate America. All you've done is exploit it. You use it as a weapon to undermine Trump. There's a headline out there that says, from Donald Trump, I made Juneteenth famous. It's true. There'd be no Juneteenth federal holiday if it wasn't just a stunt to get Trump. It really is quite a shame. So what do we have there, by the way? So we have a day off in the middle of the summer. A day off. Well, not the middle of the summer, but close enough. We just had one on Memorial Day. We're going to have one in 2 weeks for 4th of July. But we have this one, too. Another one. Nobody knows quite what to do. How do you celebrate Juneteenth? Do you have a parade? Do you have... How about you just hang around and drink with your friends, primarily on the street, and see what happens? Well, unfortunately, too many Americans decided to commemorate Juneteenth that way, and the results were, were pretty awful. Violence all over the place. You had shootings all over the country. You've got dead people, hurt cops. You throw this in the mix, you got a lot. It's number one, it's warm. Booze, time, not much to do, no real firm idea of what the hell it is you're celebrating. You got plenty of handguns all over the place. Yeah. It's a recipe for violence, actually, in certain parts of the community, and that's what happened. Not the first time, and unfortunately won't be the last, that some virtue-signaling politician/bureaucrat tried to do something. Oh, look at me. Look at what I'm doing for the community. And it blows up, not in Joe Biden's face, not in the bureaucrat's face, but in the faces of so many innocent people in that community. Oh, wait a second. Do we have... Oh, here's a moderator going after him. Looks like she's biased. I want to hear how he handles this. Cut 5. Andrew Giuliani, last night, New York 1 debate.
I have a follow-up question for you, Andrew, about your comment about diversity, equity, and inclusion as critical race theory 101. What does CRT actually mean? And can you give us an example of how it's being taught in K through 12 schools in New York and why you're so upset about it?
Well, I can give you an idea of equity in particular. It means equal outcome, not equal opportunity. So that's what I would look at. Have I sat down and taken critical race theory as a master's degree or anything like that? I have not. That's something that I would not choose to. But I think the thing that makes the United States of America so great, and New York's really history in the United States and in world history, is the fact that we have created equal opportunity for so many Americans, no matter what your background is, no matter what your religious ethnicity. And that's something that I want to make sure we bring back to Albany instead of this idea of equity of outcome.
Good for you, Andrew Giuliani. Good for you. I mean, he's a pro. He's good. Don't you want? I want to vote for this guy. Now, Lee Zeldin. Okay. He's not old, but he's coming off as really old here. Nice guy. Listen, I'd be totally for him if he gets the nomination, but I don't know. All right, this is Lee Zeldin, congressman from Long Island. Cut 6, please.
One of the aspects of Marxist organizing is that you just continue to change names. I mean, Kathy Hochul right now is the governor of the state of New York. She marches down the Columbus Day parade, gives the wrong impression to the Italian-American community. She goes right inside of a room. She signs a proclamation declaring that day as Indigenous Peoples Day. So I believe that right now the people who are in charge of our Department of Education, the people in charge of our government are going the wrong way with what might sound good with some of these terms on paper.
So is it possible to teach about racism in the U.S. and not run afoul of critics of CRT?
Teaching about racism, you can be honest and not pit students against each other. We have anti-Semitism right now inside of schools.
All right, I'm getting bored. I'm sorry. He's good. He's good. He's okay, but he's no Andrew Giuliani. I'm sorry. And next point is Andrew Giuliani challenges Zeldin. This is one of those, I guess they have this, you can ask your opponent anything phase of the debate. And he tries to get him on, well, let's listen to what happens. Go ahead.
Question for Lee. I want to know, Lee, have you ever called President Trump's past statements racist?
I believe that President Trump was a great president. I don't know what comment you're referring to specifically in asking that question. I don't recall. But as far as President Trump goes, I think he was often misinterpreted. I believe that some people called statements that he made racist, and it's the way that the person who's defining racism, that's how they end up calling President Trump's comments racist. There was one time. You asked your question.
Have you ever?
You asked your question.
Let him answer.
Go, Andrew.
And now what happens is I get to answer the question, Andrew. That's how this works. I know you feel like you're entitled to become governor of New York. It's a birthright for you. But what happens with these rules is that you can ask a question and then I'll answer it. So, with regards to President Trump, he was accused of being racist, for example, when he made a comment about a judge on one of his cases many years ago. And if you define racism in a particular way, then you would say that that's racist. And unfortunately, what happens is the way people define racism, you then start attacking anybody and say, this is racist, that's racist, this person's a terrorist, that person's an extremist. So I feel like it is unfair the way people are defining the term and then attacking others for it.
President Trump's statements racist?
Yeah, he didn't answer the question. Good for you, Andrew Giuliani. He owned Lee Zeldin. Sorry, Lee, but hey, we also like Rob Astorino. I heard he had a very solid night. Let's listen to cut 7, please. Rob Astorino.
You know, I look at the American flag, and to me, it's the most beautiful symbol in the world. And it is why they're overrunning our border to come here and why everyone's waiting online and filling out forms to do it the legal way. But, you know, I see what's happening in some of our schools right now. There's a reason why there's 6% less enrolled in public education in New York, because they're getting force-fed junk at times, including things like white privilege and dividing people by class and by race and your victim victims and you're to blame and it's your family's fault. The 1619 Project was completely debunked, and yet for some, that was the foundation of America. It was based on slavery. That is completely incorrect. Juneteenth proves that we've moved forward in our country. And by the way, Abraham Lincoln and the Republican Party led the way on the emancipation.
Thank you.
All right, solid. Very solid. Man, Andrew was good. Do we have anything else from him? I want to hear one more. This guy is such... He's been sitting by, that literally on the lap of Rudy Giuliani for all those years. All right, here's another one. Cut 4, please. Cut 4.
Andrew Giuliani, this is to you. Related question. According to the chancellor of the New York State Board of Regents, critical race theory, or CRT, is not taught in K through 12 schools in New York State. The board has launched, however, an initiative to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in schools. Some politicians and others are conflating these two ideas. Do you support teaching diversity, equity, and inclusion? Why or why not?
So I would look at diversity, equity, inclusion, and I would call it what it is, which is critical race theory 101. I believe in equality. I think equity is a very dangerous concept here in the United States. I believe in equality for all Americans. And I believe, honestly, what we've been able to do in the United States of America is truly create equal opportunity for as many Americans as possible. And honestly, I think that's what we need to do in New York State. I think when we look at our $220 billion budget in this state, we've seen government that has put their thumb on the scale for far too long. And unfortunately, it's created this out-migration in New York where you have people that are fleeing in New York more than any other state in the country. We need to make sure that we actually can bring New York back.
Yeah, he was. That's good stuff. Good stuff. We got to get Andrew on the phone and congratulate him. We got to congratulate him. He was fantastic. I am thrilled. And I could have a friend who's governor. Now, he's got to be Kathy Hochul, who's very beatable. You know who I'm pulling for, though, on the Democrat side? Tom Suozzi. He's the man.